we go into wanting to learn about mindfulness, we could spend years and years and years, like I did, 20 of them, you know, because I knew that there was something I could do about my anxiety and depression. And so what I found is, after all the years and all the retreats, all the sitting around I've done, it boils down to three things. That there's a principle. So principles can't be changed. Principles just are. So, whoops, daisy, this thing's sensitive. And this principle is about 5,000 years old. And the principle is that you can deal with life if you recognize your feelings, if you accept your feeling, and then over time you'll start to understand that feeling. Recognize, accept, and understand. The last one just kind of happens on its own. So that's why we have to be grounded, so we can do the middle step. You don't want to go and delve into something that is really strong and powerful. I'm going to have to keep going. The processes, so each one of these principles matches up to a process. So the first principle of recognizing, that means paying attention. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling kind of, I'm glad I'm here. So that could be, there's anxiety. Could be any feeling. The next, if it's something that's uncomfortable and unpleasant, that's not wholesome or healthy, not leading us towards happiness, we get grounded. We get grounded and then we go back and feel that feeling. Why is it that I'm feeling anxious? Oh, okay. Okay, what's that feel like? That's all part of that healing process for the anxiety. Over time, it just starts to happen automatically. This whole process starts to happen automatically. So we have the principles which work, which are ancient. We have processes. So the processes, and that's what we're looking at today, is grounding. There's two other processes, but that's for more advanced. And then the practices. So the practice that we're teaching today, that we're suggesting today, is stopping and dropping. Stop the overthinking and drop the attention into the body. And that's it. Just stop and drop.
It's kind of like, just like letting all the tension drain.
And coming back home. Yep. Just this is a homecoming. Coming back home.
That'll get rid of the anxiety too.
Well, the idea is we're more coming back home. When we do this, the anxiety kind of takes care of itself. Because when we start thinking about the anxiety, we start giving it more energy. I have this, so that's the way I like my mind to be all the time, clear. Mm-hmm. You see through that. But when anxiety happens, yeah. Now, if I give enough time, if I stop and drop long enough, that clarity will come back. Mm-hmm. I don't want to make any decisions right now.
No.
Not a good idea. But over time, when I get that clarity, then I can make a decision. Yeah.
Anxiety can take over and make you fidgety and restless too.
Oh yeah.
If you don't learn how to deal with it, it can drive you nuts.
Yeah. That's those 64,000.
The brain's a powerful thing.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, but it's really there to serve us. We're more than that. That's why we come into presence. So we'll say that there's the past. So the mind likes to go to, the brain likes to go to. And then there's the future. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I'm not sure. What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. But then there's the present. That's the present moment. What that does, that gives us access to a different level of consciousness.
It certainly does.
Which is not conditioned. So if I can do that right now, I don't have to worry about anybody liking the workshop. I don't have to worry about anybody leaving the workshop.
we can make decisions just in
In
being
the
in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's beautiful.
yeah.
It is.
It's beautiful. Usually only lasts for 2 to 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Darn it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we have accepting my emotions. This is my anxiety. This my is really, really important. For myself, I knew that there was anxiety, but I didn't recognize it as being mine. Oh, there's anxiety, there's anxiety. But when I started to embrace it, this is my anxiety, things really started to change. So if you look at the way this is worded, that's the recognition. There is anxiety. So that's kind of like, okay, I recognize that it's there. I can feel my throat kind of tight. Then I take responsibility for it. This is my anxiety. And I think my anxiety is saying, yay, you know, you're finally getting some recognition. And then, like I said, this usually happens on its own. Again, when I recognize that this is my emotion, then now I understand my anxiety. Oh, my anxiety is natural. You know, we put together a training program, haven't done this for a while. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Ross, are we gonna touch on any depression at all today?
This is depression too.
No, I realize that, but
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
of course.
What you'll find is there'll come a point where you can feel that old habit wanting to draw you down.
Yes, I can feel it as we're sitting here today.
Yeah. And you'll also feel it let go.
Pardon me, and then what?
You'll also feel it let go.
Yes.
I went through this about, quite a few years ago, and I could feel it. I could feel that depression wanting to get hold of me.
Oh, yes. Yes,
And then I would just bring my attention back into being present.
Yeah,
And we're done.
yeah.
And it just started to happen on its own. That's the good news. If we practice, this then becomes our new way. Rather than reacting to what's happening, we respond to it. It's a different part of the brain we use. The reactive part of it is in the amygdala. Something comes in, goes to the amygdala. Amygdala is really fast.
Mm-hmm.
When we see that same event, this is where we stop and drop. We give that little pause. Then that information goes up to the neocortex. The neocortex is the decision maker. It says, oh, this is old school. There's nothing here to be worried about. Oh, okay. And then that informs us the next time, because of the synapse, the way that the synapse form, that pathway gets stronger. And so more and more, that will be the new norm. But again, it takes practice. The stuff works.
It does. I literally tried it, just when there was a break, and I could feel a difference right away.
Yeah. It's remarkable. Like I was doing the workshop in New Zealand, and there's a woman there that had to drive a long ways, and she didn't want to do it. She's going to have to do it the first time by herself. But anyway, she that weekend after the workshop, she went, and there was a storm, a real bad storm. And she came back the next day, and she, said to her boss on Monday, she said, I don't believe I did this. I said, normally I'm really scared to drive. She said, it was really, really dangerous. And I was okay.
That's awesome.
It works. And the thing is, I'm not trying to say that medication, we should ever quit taking the medication, but what I look at, if medication is doing this much, why not give it some more of this, because this has no side effects. And I think we also do need medications to get us into a place where we can actually start to get our self back on our feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little
Yeah.
jump start.
Yeah. And so this is more about practicing. So if you wanted to learn how to play a guitar, if you want just to be able to do it on an introductory level, if you spend half an hour a day, it would take about 10 months before you build play some chords. If you had the luxury of time and you would put together for the student, then you could learn it in about 39 days. So the more practice you do, the quicker the results. And also it's interesting that every practice session has a 10 to 20 minute hold time. So if you choose to do some of these practices, not to expect the results right away. It takes a while for the mind to kind of get into the swing of things. Yeah.
Earlier you said that anxiety is into the subconscious level. And now that what you're talking, then could be the possibility that if you're applying those principles into the conscious level, they go down into the subconscious level, and some point the anxiety that will be relieved because we were applying all those concepts into the conscious level, they're going down, and then after that will be released.
What they found, that was a big question for me. How do I get at the unconscious? And I asked a lot of people, read a lot of books. And where I come out at it is the unconscious mind responds to love. So one loving phrase of intention probably replaces so many, I don't know how many negative unconscious thoughts. So it's the feeling more, so we have the words, but what really makes the difference is the feeling that's behind it. So when we can say, may I be saved, may I be saved. But if we say, may I be safe, there's a whole different feeling. Whole different feeling. I could feel my solar plexus contract a little bit. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep us going here. Whoops, this is mindfulness, attention, intention, and stress loops. I think I'm on, yeah. This is some of the science behind it. If we look at the brain, a cross-section of the brain, see how much area the foot takes up? And if we think as a child, how long did it take for a child to learn how to walk? So one of the things that we can do is walk. Walk with attention and intention. Just feel our feet touching the floor. Walking. What that'll do is break those stress loops. The hand. Look at how much the hand. It takes, my granddaughter, she's starting to get some of those skills, but just to have that pinch, just to be able to do that, takes quite a while for the brain to learn that. 3 fingers, maybe 4 or 5-year-old, where they can write very well. But again, what we're doing, we're kind of cheating the brain from overthinking other stuff, because we say, no, I want to feel these fingers. Okay, that's going to bring you into the present moment. Especially, so what I've done is I have these 3 fingers, they represent my son, my daughter, and my wife. So there's like a touchstone now.
That's
when
nice.
I touch those. That, it could be anything, but something that I feel warmth and good about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that.
Yeah.
So it's just training the brain. If we get anxious, and we know the results of anxiety, well, we didn't invite that, but that happened. A lot of it is conditioning. So that works for us the other way. The thing is, we don't try to fight with it, we don't try to think about it. We bring in, as this gentleman said, we bring in newness. That's what causes new brain cells to form. The chemical formula in the brain, that chemical soup, but it will form new brain cells when there's a certain emotion that is there. And that emotion is novelty. It's that I wonder. It's that newness. That's what will cause new brain cells to form. It's really that simple. So you can see with these, again, whenever we'll say we touch the fingers together, what we're doing is we're providing motor. So I have to use concentration and attention to do that. But then there's also sensation.
Mhm.
So if I'm really anxious, and I know that if I feel intentionally I'm going to breathe in deeper, that's motor. And then if I want to feel those sensations, I want to really double up on it. If I can feel the sensations of that happening, those are just in the present moment. So this is really, and the other thing is what it's doing now is it's rebalancing the parasympathetic nervous system. So there's three things that are going on. These minds and brains are wonderful. And these little characters here, they just represent that amount of real estate in the brain, how much the hands take up. So when you do things with your hands, being aware of your hands, you can say these phrases of intention. May I be safe. May I be safe. And you can just do that. Nobody has to see that. Like I used to, at the university, I would walk down the stairs when I knew I was anxious. I would take the stairs around the elevator, and I would just do that because I knew what that meant. May I be safe. May I be safe. Okay, so this is what I think is really important. This is the work of Dr. Hawkins. And so he qualified that we have energy, emotional energy.
Absolutely.
And these numbers represent the amount of that energy and the emotion that's associated with it. So when we're ashamed of ourselves, like I'm bad, we're way down here. When I feel guilt, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
Fear, craving, anger, pride. But you see, everything is moving up. So it's better to be angry than what it is to be ashamed. So, but there's more good news. And this, the way that you can kind of get a glimpse of where you're at that point, because this changes, this isn't fixed in stone, this changes rapidly, is that we listen to our self-talk. This column here is self-talk. So if we catch ourselves saying, I'm a failure,
Mhm.
I'm not good enough, then we know that this is where we're operating at. But if we look at our self-talk, the self-talk will give us an indication as to where we're at.
Are we
And
getting any notes from any of these slides?
Hmm?
Are we getting any material from these slides?
yeah, I'll give you everything.
Yeah, oh, wonderful,
Oh,
thank you.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. If we could just give me a sign-up list, and I'll send everything to you.
Oh, that's
Send it.
nice.
And I'll also put them on. I'm building a new website just for anxiety, so all this will be on there. So now, when we looked at love base, so what we've done, they say the tipping point is 200. 200 is doing what you did today. You took the courage to come here and say, I wonder what we can do. So now you're on the love side of it, because you had the courage to take the time to come here. So again, you can see kind of where you're at by your self-talk. And again, that's why we want to pay attention to our thoughts, because our thoughts inform us. And then from that we can respond rather than react. So again, acceptance, forgiveness, understanding, reverence, love, joy, bliss. These are all different levels, and they say that actual physical healing can start to be promoted when we start to get up into this region. So, not that it's not necessarily that it's etched in stone, because it's hard to stay in bliss for 24 hours a day. But I think there's a strong healing that happens, emotional healing.
I believe so.
Faith, go ahead.
Are you sure? Okay. I just have a question. To be able to recognize all of these different emotions and to feel them when they do arise, does that mean that you have a pure consciousness?
Did you hear her question? Could you say your question out loud again?
Yeah, to be able to feel all these emotions, that mean, and to acknowledge that they're there, and that means that you've reached a pure consciousness.
So, yes. See, what is it that knows? What is it that knows the thought? What is it that knows the anxiety?
Your consciousness,
We're more than our thoughts.
right?
We're more than our emotions. So, it's just being able to stand back. Ah, there is. This is my feeling. Ah, okay. But I'm bigger than that. I give it more space. So if I'm anxious, my throat's tight or whatever, I give it space to let it be that way. Because I'm grounded.
Right.
And it's saying, okay, yeah, you haven't listened to me for years, here. Yeah, finally listening to me. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I'm saying, I'm there. I'm just saying, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. I feel you especially. And it says, ah. So maybe I'll go back down in the basement again.
Right.
But I can intentionally bring that up. So I can go over to the basement door and say, okay, fear of death.
I'll check it out.
Could you come up? Could you, fear of failure, that's a big one for me.
Me too.
Fear of failure. Wow, huge. That goes back to my childhood, starting a year early, all that sort of thing. Yeah, fear of failure, big one.
Oh, yeah.
So I invite those to come up into consciousness when I'm grounded and safe, and they come up, and they're there. They're there. But when I say, okay, that's enough. I know I can always touch and go. I can go back to being grounded. They go back downstairs, but now they're not as powerful.
Right. You put them at peace and eventually maybe they'll just go away.
Well, they're
They
there for a
could,
purpose.
possibly.
Yeah. Well, if I think of them as being, I mentioned this earlier, if I think of them as being like little children, so if I'm this, don't bother me now, I got better things to do.
Right.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, they're not gonna grow up.
But if I get down, just to eye level, and I say, oh, I see you. I feel you. I don't have to do any more thinking, I just be present with it. Then, the child would run away and play.
Yes.
It'll come back again. But if I don't pay attention to that child, it's going to get bigger
Yes.
and bigger and stronger and
Yes.
stronger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, parasympathetic, we talked about that. Parasympathetic is fantastic what it does. So you can see the laughter and tears both. So crying's okay. That invokes the parasympathetic.
Is that what that means, crying?
Yeah, when you cry, that
Oh, good
brings-
release. Oh, yes.
yeah. There's hormones in the tears that help to heal the brain. So emotional content, activated by feelings of love, calmness, peacefulness, contentment, satisfaction, and being appreciated.
Yes.
And we can't always get that, so charity begins at home. I'm just doing the best I can. I'm just doing the best I can. Nervous system, the two, so if you're meditating or being still and quiet and you notice a lot of saliva in your mouth, that shows you that the parasympathetic nervous system is on. Right now my mouth is pretty dry. So that shows that the sympathetic nervous system is pretty much
I was just thinking, you're talking about that, like I'm having my restless leg syndrome happening pretty bad here today.
yeah.
And that's all part of our nervous system in the brain.
And that's a difficult one, but it's workable. It's very, very workable. But
I used to just get it at night. I mean, I was born, there's a few of us in our family, it was only at night, but now it's getting to where it's during the day as well.
my left leg, the one that I had the new hip put in, it was like it had a mind of its own. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's a very,
Yeah. But again, I just knew that, it needed attention. It needed to express itself. It wasn't easy, damn it.
Did you do it through like just your own self-healing? I believe in the power of that, so.
Yeah,
I bet past experiences
Yeah.
of
See,
self-healing.
what we're saying here is that this higher level of consciousness, awareness is before thought. So if I'm looking at the clock right now. The thought was what time it is. Awareness is just looking.
Mhm.
That's unconditioned. When we bring something up into the unconditioned, then it can change, it can heal, it can do whatever it needs to do. The unconditioned. We're so conditioned,
No kidding.
and so we need an opportunity to uncondition.
It's so true.
And so again, progression of the phrases. There is anger in me. This is my anger. There is nothing wrong with feeling my anger. I worked with this for about 1.5 years. This kind of just happened on its own. And, you know, this here took a while for me to come to. This is my anger, taking responsibility. Not that I'm a bad person, but no, this is my anger.
Mhm.
Doesn't belong to Jim. It's mine. And then there's really nothing wrong with feeling my anger. Anger's a natural,
Emotion.
as so is anxiety. There's nothing wrong with that. It's there for a purpose.
Mhm.
Okay, intention. The faculty of intention, developing the power of mindfulness, the second step is setting a wise intention. This is where we're in control.
Yes.
You notice all these runaway thoughts? And we
Yeah.
say, okay, sorry, but now it's my turn.
Yeah.
And we use phrases of intention. May I be safe, may you be safe, may we be safe.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're all in this together. May I be well, may you be well, may we all be well. And if you want a kind of a go-to, may Hitler be well. May Ross be well. Like if Hitler was well, he wouldn't have done what he did.
Mhm.
He would have recognized how destructive his egotistic
Yes.
ideas were. So
Absolutely.
we can give that, may I be well, may you be well, may we be well, to anything. May my anger be well. You know, may my anger be balanced, I need that.
So may Donald Trump be well?
Yeah,
May Donald Trump be well?
yeah. Because if he knew what he was doing, he would. But Donald has a purpose for us, you know.
Yeah.
He brings up, you know, we know what not to do, or we know who not to vote for. So grounding practice. Feeling the body, like, you may, if you've been involved with reading about mindfulness, and a lot of it is about breath. But what I found is breath is hard to get a hold of.
It is.
And we can get ourselves anxious by trying to feel our breath. And so I asked my wife yesterday, I said, you know, how is this, you know, for you? Do you notice your breath first, or do you notice your body, your posture? And she said, no, my posture. And so that's why I put it first. So just be aware of my posture, because it's the easiest one to get a hold of. These are all where the safe sensations are. We saw in the brain that this here is the emotional real estate that we have. So it's best to first be grounded before we start to visit this area.
Mhm.
Our throat, our chest, and our stomach.
Yeah.
Okay. Ground first, and then visit this. Whoops!
That's what you will say, the saying,
Oh,
I gotta
perfect.
go catch my breath, right? The saying, I gotta go catch
Yeah.
my breath.
Yeah. Yeah, catch it, where to go? So, intentional breathing. So again, this is intentional. That's our power, the power of intention. So many things that we do each day, there's an intention, but we don't realize it. That's more of the unconscious, just habitual.
So we can have a lot more power over our
Oh,
thoughts in our brain than we realize is what you're really trying to say here, right?
exactly, exactly. And just two things, attention, recognize what's happening, and then bring a healthy intention to it.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
Yes.
we've been given this ability.
That's
There's a reason why we have these mental faculties.
Yes.
Mother Nature didn't make a mistake. Intentional breathing, noticing the in-breath, letting go on the out-breath. So that was, that, and again, this is all my stuff. These are
Right.
what my experience has been. But if I give 2 things for the mind to do, because I can only hold my attention about 2 to 3 seconds on one thing. So I pay attention to my in-breath, know what's happening, and then I let go on the out-breath. But then the mind has something refreshing, something different, and that letting go is very powerful. But it can't come before, I can't let go of something I don't know that's there.
Right.
Yeah. So this one here, this is if you had a really had a really great weekend and you know, life was so good. You've been resting and whatnot. If you can start to feel your heart beating, then you know you've really come home.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah.
So
So
you're very aware.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because people, sometimes when people are very afraid, they can feel their heartbeat.
and why would that be?
The flight or fight
Fight or
mechanism.
flight?
And why is it that is so? It's,
That's an evolutionary concept, isn't it?
well, it's
Built
the
over
mind
the
saying,
years.
you know, hey, here's something I can go to, and now I'm going to really feel it. Like some of the hospitals, what they do is when people come in with shock, they will give them an ice cube to hold in their hand, so that the attention goes to that cold ice cube. Again, breaking the thought loops.
Do you mean
So-
by with your heart beating, actually putting your hand on your heart, or without?
That's even better.
Pardon?
Yeah, putting your hand on it.
That's even better. What I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but I can make suggestions. And what I find helpful, again, is have my hand, because that's an intention, my hand's safe, have my hand on my belly. And then just breathing in. So I can hold my belly a bit, you know, give it a little bit of a, you know, caress and whatnot. And then I can take my other hand, and I can just put it on my heart. And it's not that I'm trying. It'll come to me. All these sensations are always there. It's just if we stop and drop long enough, they'll come to us. So we know that we're coming back into presence. We're rebalancing the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and we're really getting those happy hormones flowing.
Because it feels good, right? Like it makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
Like right now, even with me just doing
Yeah,
it.
there's a smoothness, like you can feel.
Yes, it's like I'm okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
I'm back
okay.
home, yeah.
Right, I'm holding my belly, I'm breathing, I'm holding my heart. Like I almost think you would hold a child.
Yeah. I'm afraid we won't have, just one last exercise I'm gonna do. This has been great. I've got a ton of material here, but I'm gonna
Yes.
ask, and it's gonna be on that